Does it not seem like people are more stressed today than ever? I mean, we have more technology today than we've ever had. More jobs are available probably today than there ever has been. But people are so stressed. I mean, you see these things that suicide hotlines and stress and anxiety and all this kind of stuff, these hotlines that you can call to get help. They're posted up at my workplace. And I'm like, my goodness, how did we get to this point in life? And I've often thought about the stress that's in my life. Being at this point in my life, I'm not as stressed about certain things like I used to be, but there still is some anxiety and things that I stress over and worry about. And I realized something about myself, and you may can relate to this, and if you can, you can let me know in the comments below. But I put a lot of stress on myself, unnecessary stress. You see, I was raised that you work hard. I've shared that on here before. And my dad was a minute man. He is. He's not as much as he used to be now that he's in his mid 70s. But my dad would get up in the morning. He'd have an idea about doing something. If we was doing a job, man, we got out there and we got with it to get it done and get it done fast. And, when you're working for yourself or different things, time is money. And you want to get the job done. But it didn't matter what we was doing. It had to be done. It had to be done. It had to be done. It had to be done fast. It had to be done now. And I grew up with that mentality and that way of thinking in my life. And I realize now that I'm a little bit older that, you know what? The pressures that I've been putting on myself with that, I don't have to be that way. With the things that are not mandatory for me to be done at a certain time or be pushed, why am I pushing myself so hard in areas that I don't have to push and be done, and putting these timelines on myself? I realize that, hey, you are your own worst enemy right here. You're doing this to yourself, and you're causing yourself unnecessary anxiety. You're causing yourself unnecessary stress. Now, I like to get things done and get things behind me, but if I'm doing that to a point to where it is wearing me out, so to speak, and stressing me out in a way that's not healthy for me, or I have pushed myself so hard in a project to get done that when I am done with it, I can't enjoy the time that I have. And I've had to learn to realize that it's okay to pace myself a little bit slower in things, and realize that I have to ask myself the question, is this going to change anything if I finish this faster, if I put this unnecessary stress on myself? What is it going to change? What is it going to do? Am I on a time limit here, or is this just something that I'm doing to myself just because it's a old habit of mine or an old way of learning? And it's hard, to teach this old guy new tricks. The old saying is, it's hard to teach an old dog new tricks. So, when you've been doing something a long time the same way, it can be hard to change at times. So just my thought for today and my perspective on this thing now that I'm in my mid 50s, the way I'm just kind of seeing things. Let me know what you think.